Welcome everybody to what is in many ways the main event of today. I know a lot of you like a bit of big machinery, and we're going to see plenty of that in the next few minutes. And this is a demonstration organised by Horsch. We have William and Michael who are going to lead us through a fascinating parade of machinery. So over to you. And if you're struggling to hear, you might need to come a little bit nearer the speaker van here. But with that, over to you, William.
Thank you. Well, welcome. I hope you're having a good day so far. A little bit of a change of pace now. There'll be some machinery thumping around the ring here. Got some exciting machines all the way from Germany as well with the team. So the machine going past right now is the Avatar 1225 SD. So that's a 12-metre seed drill from us, disc seed drill from Horsch at 25-centimetre row spacing. It's an exciting range Avatar going all the way from 3 up to 18 metres, mounted and trail. And the exciting thing about this machine is it's capable of having 4 hoppers on it. So three split hoppers in the main tank, and the mini drill we can see on the front of the drawbar there for small seeds as well. So it's a single disc coulter drill, primarily designed for direct drilling, but perfectly comfortable planting in any seedbed really. And the precise nature of the single disc is what makes the seeding depth so good for us, and we're excited about all the flexibility in the closing wheels, which allow us to really keep that seed safe in the ground away from herbicides. And a great machine at 250 horsepower and upwards for the 12-metre machine. So the next machine we have coming past is the new Sprinter 1225 SC. It's an exciting machine for us, sharing a bit of commonality in chassis and hoppers with the Avatar we've just seen. It's a 12-metre tine-based seed drill this time, 25-centimetre row spacing again, but excitingly here we have 3 coulter options from ultra thin edge, and wide edge, allowing us to disturb the ground with, to do very little disturbance during seeding, or quite a lot of disturbance depending on our preference. The tine has been proven around the world in open furrow seeding situations in Australia and the USA and other countries, and so it's equally capable of doing some open furrow seeding without the harrow, which we are running today, or for working into a more cultivated based seedbed such as this with the following harrow to give a level seedbed. It's a very exciting machine for us again because it's quite low horsepower requirements per metre, able to pull the machine depending on the point options and the topography from again about 250 horsepower upwards, and again multiple hopper options on the machine, and it's a very exciting product we're looking to launch into the market this year. So for the next machine, I'll introduce you to Michael Brown. Michael's come over from Germany, from Horsch specially, and he's going to take you through the next couple of machines.
Thank you, Will. So the next machine which will pass away here is our new Cruiser 12XL. New means this machine will be launched in 2025, so in the end of the year. We already have a product family which is called Cruiser XL. The target is a 6-bar design, 16 to 17 centimeter row spacing or tine spacing, and it's built for maximum mixing and maximum leveling effect. Why mixing? Because of the number of tines per meter, very intensive mixing effect, and leveling because of the number of the bars. So 6-bar design, guarantee a long soil transport to make sure that every single pass levels or makes an additional leveling effect to the field. So how we normally operate this machine for stubble cultivation, so for the first pass maybe on 6, 8, 10 centimeter stepped with 5 centimeter wide points on heavy ground or 8 centimeter wide points on lighter ground. For all of them who wants to cut the surface properly to avoid that something green still stands in the field, you also can use goose hoods. Then they are 24 centimeter wide with an overlap of at least 7 centimeters.
It's a very familiar machine for us coming past now. Horsch Joker. It's a compact disc harrow. real good seller around the world for us, this machine, and it's available from 3 to 12 metres, here seen in 6 metres. Applications include getting a good chit and first shallow primary pass after a combine, for example, into incorporation of organic manure, and also great for secondary cultivations as well. So you will see James using some 12-metre versions of this machine on his farm. Back to you now. What's that? Is that Pronto? Another familiar machine to us at Horse UK, Horse Pronto, cultivator seeder, great seller for us, and yeah, featuring the proven turbo disc or paradisc coulter, plus some working disc elements up front. This would be the 7 metre, or Pronto 7 DC, so it's a 7.2 metre to fit in with 36 metre tram lines. This machine's actually fitted with the Horse Connect telematics feature, as you can see the receiver on the rear of the tank. Multiple hopper options and various disc options as well, plus 9 different application points for a mini drill seeder. Maestro next, I think.
We're really fast. So next machine is a planter, our Maestro. Here it's a 12CX, it's the name of the machine, and it's our machine for heavy speed, so that means it's a high-speed planter. What means high speed? So we can run this unit up to maybe 15, 16 kilometers an hour. It depends a bit on soil or on seedbed preparation before, on the quality of the seedbed. What is special for this machine? So first of all, we have a really heavy wide parallelogram because the main focus is on reliability and on precision. So as precise the parallelogram works, as precise the row body works, as perfect we can integrate the seed into the furrow. Second topic, what is important, of course, is the metering unit. Here it's a pressurized system. That means we need pressure, or we use pressure for singulation, and we use also this pressure, this airstream, for the transport of the seed from the metering unit into the furrow. And this system allows us to be a bit faster in the field by being very, very precise in terms of singulation and, of course, in terms of row spacing. But for the good integration, we need also downforce. It's equipped with a hydraulic downforce system, and we can automate this downforce system. It's called AutoForce. Then the machine is measuring online how many feedback it gets from the soil, and it's adjusting the downforce properly to the set amount of kilograms what you want to apply to the soil. On the one hand, to guarantee a good furrow integration, but also to avoid that you're compacting your sidewalls too much. Good, then we are jumping over to the sprayers. There is our new VT sprayer here. VT means variable track. So this machine is equipped with a chassis where you can adjust the track width hydraulically from the cab. It's the basic platform is equipped with a 230 horsepower engine and can be equipped with 5,000 liter or 6,000 liter hopper on top. The special topic on our sprayers is the boom and the boom stability system. We call that boom control. This machine here is equipped with all the options in boom control, so that means we can control the height, the angles, and also the angles in each side of the boom. That guarantees us the best application by being as close as possible to the target area. So in our case here, target area would be the soil, the surface, and the machine is now set to a distance of 25 to 30 centimeter between nozzle and target area. The special topic there is it's full automatic driven, so you have just to switch it on. The rest is done by the machine. I think that helps to increase the capacity by increasing the speed and by reducing the mistakes. And this system is also working on the headland, so when you're passing or when you go into the headland, the machine is lifting up maybe 50 centimeter, but then stabilize the boom again automatically to reduce the time losses on the headland. So our highest focus is application quality and of course capacity, because for a good application we have to have the right timing, and timing always is related to capacity which is available in spraying. Yes, the next product is brand new for us. It's our Xeric spreader. It's a pneumatic fertilizer spreader for solid fertilizer. We started this story 3 years ago, and here for us the main goal is to be able to apply solid fertilizer as precise as possible, especially when we have poor qualities, poor fractions of fertilizer. If we have high wind speeds, this unit can help to improve spreading quality. Some words to capacity. This unit can do 400 kilograms of urea at 20 kilometers an hour on 36 meter boom. I think that's a really high amount what can spread off, just to make sure that we are able to touch the right time window for applying the nutrients. We will start with this product in 14,000 liter capacity, 36 meter boom and 48 meter boom. And in the following years, of course, we will also increase our product range in spreaders.
Thanks, Michael. Well, back to me again now. So the Avatar is going to make its second pass. Keep away from spec a bit this time and maybe talk about some of the applications of the machine. So as you can see, the machine's working into a cultivated seed beds today, but it's more than happy going into a full tall cover or catch crop situation, performing low disturbance drilling. Another exciting point about this machine for us is its maintenance-free row units, which we see as being key in the longevity of the machine and to keep that downtime down and keep uptime in the field good for high outputs. Also have options on the machine for either half-width shut-off or selective hosing, meaning we can plant different crops in different rows next to each other depending on how we configure the machine. So here's the second round of the Sprinter 12 SC, and again, keeping away from spec a bit this time, we'll talk about more the features of the machine. So all Horsch drills that have double or triple hoppers are fully pressurized. The reason we do this is to guarantee accuracy and consistency of distribution across the seeding width of the machine, and especially at high flow rates and with challenging crops like beans and high weight seeds. Another good point about the machine, again, shares some commonality with the Avatar in the fact that the tine unit, the row unit, is again maintenance free, keeping that uptime in the field up.
So next machine is the Cruiser XL again. Maybe some sentences on tines and equipment. So this machine is equipped with a spring-loaded tine, 180 kilos of release force. It's called our Flex Grip tine. When we have a look on the market, traditionally a seedbed preparator or a stubble cultivator is normally equipped with a simple spring tine. What is the disadvantage of a simple spring tine? When you have different soil conditions, heavy ones, lighter ones. In the lighter ones, you're always deeper than in the heavier ones. And this tine here guarantees you consistent working depth. From my point of view, that's a big advantage, especially when you have to guarantee that you're preparing your heaviest parts in the field properly from the first tillage pass until the seedbed pass. I think that's a big advantage. Some words on the packers. So nowadays we have maybe not tons of different packers, but a long list of different packers. This is here our new Rollflex packer, a double Rollflex packer This packer guarantees you a good reconsolidation into the depth, plus a fine soil layer on top. So I think that's the perfect combination on a lot of soils for seedbed preparation.
Thanks, Michael. So back to me again with the Joker. So this time I'll probably talk a little bit about the reliability of the Joker and the strength in the chassis. So it's a high weight machine to guarantee penetration in tough hard situations. It's also fitted with a suspension system in the transport wheels in the cylinders to guarantee smooth running over the field at high speed. And building on that reliability, we're a maintenance-free disc again with an oil-sealed type bearing unit, and the seal's actually recessed into the housing to guarantee longevity. Another final point about the machine is high clearance. So we're mounting 2 discs on one arm to guarantee high clearance of trash flow throughout the machine, which sometimes on this type of machine in the market in the past can be a limitation on individually mounted discs. Here we have the second lap of the Pronto. So for those of you not aware of the Pronto drill, the concept would be it's a drill to work in cultivated seed beds, plough-based seed beds. We have the working tools up front of the discs, guaranteeing some fine soil in the seed germination horizon, some levelling, a bit of mineralisation and nitrogen. Going into the packer roller, and that's really key to the Horsch system, is having the packer roller in front of the turbo disc or Paradisc seed coulters. That gives us a consistent consolidation across the working width, and it allows every disc coulter to work into exactly the same level of consolidation to guarantee even germination and even precision seed depth. So it's two coulters per packer wheel, and that's what guarantees us that consistency. Going to pass you back to Michael.
So coming back to the planters, to the Maestro, this unit here is equipped with two different hoppers. So that means the first hopper is for solid fertilizer, 3,000 liters of capacity. And the second one, the smaller one, is 800 liter capacity for seed. So this machine is equipped with MTS. We call that MTS, main tank supply, which consistently delivers small amount of seeds to the single row units, just to make sure that every row unit is supported with the equal amount of seed which is needed. The advantage out of this system is, I think, we can reduce filling time by just filling up one hopper instead of 12 in that case. And I think it's also a big advantage when you work with section control or variable rate, because I guess some of you already know that story. The single boxes, you always have an inconsistent level because of shutting off single rows or increasing the amount of seed in single rows. In terms of crops, this machine is good for sugar beets, for corn, of course, or maize, when you call it maize, for soybeans, for sunflowers, for oilseed rape, but also for other crops like pumpkins and so on. I think there's a various number of crops which can be singulated and precisely put into the ground with our Maestro units. Yes, jumping back to the sprayers, to the VT, we already talked a bit about boom control system, so the stabilizing system to make sure that the target distance to the target area is controlled. What else can the machine? This machine here is equipped with a 25 centimeter nozzle distance. That means every 25 centimeter we have, in that case, minimum 2 nozzles, every 50 centimeter 4. And we're using a system that's called Auto Select. And what is Auto Select doing? You can have some profiles in the software which at least represents the size of the nozzle, the optimum pressure range, and then the machine is automatically selecting the right combination for your application rate, for your speed to stay in the optimum pressure level. And this is also related to droplet size, so you can choose different droplet size and make sure that you always do the best application. Doesn't matter if you accelerate or whatever when you're in the beginning of the tram line or in the end of the tram line, or you go up or somewhere in the hills where you're a bit slower. Yeah, then Xeric 14FS again, 14,000 liter capacity on a double axle chassis. This double axle chassis is suspended, equipped with active steering system, and is also equipped with an active stabilizing system. This hopper is designed in a way that we always guarantee the maximum drawbar load. So that means when the machine is full, we start to take out the fertilizer from the back part of the hopper and emptying the hopper from the back to the front. That means you always have the maximum drawbar load on the back axle of the tractor, just to make sure when you're in the slopes that you have enough traction to be able to run this unit in the early springtime or also in the autumn when it starts to become wet again. This machine here is equipped with 12 sections. That means we can, of course, control section by section, and we can do also variable rate by section. So that means we can do curve compensation, but we also can work with application maps which are not perfectly adapted to the working width of the machine.
So thank you very much, guys, for your attention. We're going to do one final lap of machines all together. Should be a bit of a spectacle. Should be pretty interesting. I don't think we'll see this again for a while. After this, the machines will be parked up back in the parking area towards the hedge, towards the bank over there. And if all of us from Horse UK and Horse Germany will be available all day if you want to come and ask us any questions. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Cheers.
Do you want to just tell people? One, two.
Just one final message from us, guys. If you're staying around till the end of the demo, we'll be doing a higher speed run of the Lieb VT to demonstrate the boom stability. So yeah, stick around for that. Cheers.
I am cousin Michael. I'm the taller, skinnier, better-looking version of James. What date was it? Middle of March. Oh, steady. Let's one cameraman down. Something like the 7th of March this year, James and I were walking this crop. I drilled it with my esteemed colleagues. The 1st of November, it went in very, very, very wet. Ian is just in a second going to describe what we've got underneath our feet. Anyway, come March, James decided that this was going to be his field of dreams. Some would wonder about his dreams. And he challenged me and Agri to make it into a 12-ton crop. Now, middle of the season, the wet season, difficult season, the best of times, that was filled me with dread. It's been my field of nightmares ever since. But anyway, all I can do is try and make it do what we can make it do, and I'll tell you what we've done with it. Ian, if I hand over to you, if you can just tell us a little bit about the soil that we stand on.
Right, thanks very much, Michael. This soil type you're looking at is roughly 48% silt, 32% clay, and around about 20% sand. Naturally moisture retentive. It's also self-structuring in these sort of conditions that we've had the dry spring, and in reality also you can see that with controlled traffic we'll look at the one here, for instance. So you can see that the structure is good right the way through, with rooting right the way down to the bottom of this pit. This pit was dug quite a few days ago, so it's dried out. But you can see that with the Torano working down to around about sort of 12 centimetres, you know, he's kept the structure right, and in reality, working the soil when it's appropriate to operate is always a good thing. If we, yeah, it's all right, I'm a bit old now. If we work along, this one here is actually on a tram line. So with the CTF, the tram lines are put back in the same place each year. And as you can see, they've cracked. There's no point doing anything to these. You wouldn't break these up. You just end up making a complete untrackable roadway. So in essence, even though we've had a very dry spring, we had a very wet autumn. So 120 to 160 mil at the end of September last year, followed by 30 and 40 mil through the first 3 weeks of October. That was good from a stale seedbed point of view, but however, that meant that drilling happened mainly the last week of October and the first 2 weeks of November. And in reality, I don't know what seed rate you put on, but we found that number of seeds sown to plant counts had been lower this year than in previous years. And then we also then had quite a wet back end, but also pre-em herbicides work really well.
Thank you, Ian. So yeah, so that sets the story. Sets where we started. Had James told me in September he wanted me to try and achieve this 12-ton a hectare yield, first of all, I wouldn't have chosen Skyfall. Skyfall is not a massive yielding variety. We grow all milling wheats on this farm. Skyfall, until a few years ago, that was all we grew. We grew whatever it is, 2,000 hectares of Skyfall, which was a very, very risky situation to be in. I persuaded James to bring a few more varieties in. Nevertheless, had this been the challenge, I probably would have gone for certainly a feed wheat. Anyway, that is the challenge. Drilled on the so land work wise, this was what's the name of the thing? Toranoed. It was Toranoed first in July after the mustard, then disked with a Joker. Thank you very much. dissed with a joker and left, and then not touched again until drilling. Drilling happened, as I say, somewhere around the 1st of November. The drill was, we were struggling to move. James had gone on holiday, which set an even bigger pressure. We were determined to get the drilling done before he got home, which probably made us go before we should have done. Mauled it in, and by some stroke of luck, we got a month of decent weather afterwards. Had we not got that month of decent weather, I think we'd have been re-drilling a lot of the farm. A lot of the farm went in like that, and we were very, very lucky for a month afterwards. So one of the first big things about this year, as Ian said, is that we have, by some stroke of fortune, have ended up clean. This field is notorious, as is most of the farm, for blackgrass. Drilled in November, we'd had a hell of a kill. We had a hell of a chit, a hell of a kill with glyphosate. The majority of the chit had been and gone. We drilled, it had, what did it have? Luxonum plus Pontos, which is a symethyllin-based product with flufenicet as a pream, and actually that did a really good job. It was followed up with a post-em just to make sure, because as I said, it is a notoriously bad field, and that was another flufenicet product. So that left us with a reasonably, as I say, in March when we were walking the crop, it was a reasonably clean crop, at least. If it wasn't anything else, it was a reasonably clean crop. It was quite thin. It wasn't seed rate was 200 seeds per metre squared, partly because that was all the seed he left me with. I would have liked to have probably gone a bit higher than that at that date in those conditions. But anyway, it did come, and we were left with a half reasonable crop, but quite thin. I put a Chlormequat-based mix with some biostimulants on at growth stage, just before growth stage 30, to try and get it to tiller and hold on to some tillers. And I think that actually was quite successful. We went on also with very early nitrogen. We had an open spring. We were very lucky to be able to get on relatively early with nitrogen, and indeed it had all its nitrogen by the end of March with an inhibitor, which not everybody would have chosen to have done. But as it happens, it was quite a lucky thing, because after that we had no more rain, and it did get all its nitrogen before it dried up and then stayed very dry. Nitrogen quantity, it's had about 260 kilos of nitrogen plus another 40 now on the ear, so it's had a total of 300 kilos of nitrogen, because don't forget we are trying to get the protein as well. Fungicide-wise, Skyfall is absolutely, well, I'm sure that many of you have grown Skyfall. It's a notoriously terrible variety for yellow rust. Really, really bad. And I've been caught with my trousers down many a time on this farm, because regardless of the fact we've got 4 sprayers, sometimes the weather doesn't allow us to use them, and I've been caught out. So actually it's had a 5 spray program. I don't mean to say we spent a fortune on it. We've used generics in a lot of that, but it has had a 5 spray program, because I believe that with Skyfall you don't really want the gap between the fungicides of any more than about 2 weeks, or at least the leaf. You need to keep each leaf clean. So I started with a fungicide program, a T-Naught, azoxystrobin and Teb. Just straight cheap, but it won't do a lot on Septoria, but to be honest, T-Naught does do a lot on Septoria, so we just kept the rust out. T1, it had Vimoy, and as it happens at the time, we were still fairly damp here. Things looked really good. We hadn't dried out, so it had a really robust T-Naught, and therefore we used Vimoy there. T1.5, I did another, I did actually the Ultra Legend, which is a prothioconazole tebuconazole mix, which is the old Prosaro product most people will have heard of. and it had a growth regulator there as well, and it also had a physio crop, which is another biostimulant, just to try and keep things going, because it was just starting to run out of steam. Following that, we had a very lucky inch of rain, or inch and a bit of rain, which we didn't get in Lincolnshire, which really boosted this farm on again. Which meant we were back into T2. Disease actually wasn't too bad, but again we were back into some relatively crops with good potential. Let's put it like that. So T2, and of course it's a crop we're trying to push. James wasn't necessarily too worried about what we were spending. It's more about the output. So this had Rylox, which is, and I always struggle to pronounce this, mefentrefluconazole based T2 with Ceratavo Plus, which was very good on yellow rust. Where both products are very good on yellow rust. And then we followed that with a T3, actually with a bit of Torch Duo, which was prothioconazole spiroxamine, which is actually probably not the product of choice, but I had it in the store to use up, so that's where we went to with T3. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is as far as we've got. And I think it's fair to say that when you're going for yield, it's not all about putting what you can do with a sprayer, because actually, I haven't done that much differently to what we've done on the rest of the farm. And there's only so much you can tip on it out of a sprayer, and a lot of it, a lot of the rest is either down to luck, climate, or how we farm it right from the beginning. And I would have liked a better shot at it from probably July last year if I was going to really push this crop. And hopefully, if this trend continues with James, we'll have a little bit more notice for next year. Choose a variety, choose what we do, drilling date, drilling timing, seed rate, etc., etc. And that really is about all I can tell you about the crop at the moment, short of answering any questions. If anyone's got any questions about, yes.
What are your predictions?
Oh God, what are my predictions? I'd like to think that it'll do 10 tonne. I don't think it'll do 12 tonne. But you've got to be realistic. This is a November drill crop. I do think that by some stroke of luck, we've hit the climate reasonably well this year. We got the rain when we needed it. We've got the sunshine. Everybody's whittling about sunshine, but actually we are running out of water. I'd like to have had more water. Sunshine's what fills the ears. So they're reasonable heads. James managed to find two that were only about 2 inches long the other day and thrust them under my nose and said, "What are we doing here, Dongworth?" But anyway, yeah, they are. And the longer we go into the season, the more they feel. I don't think it's a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. If I had been set this challenge, I would not have chosen this field either. This field's probably one of the heaviest, most problematic fields on the farm. Wet. We've got fields on the farm which look a lot better, which I would like to think won't be far off 12 tonne. After peas, better land, better varieties. So there's a lot we can do. Any other questions?
What kind of establishment rate did you get, and what kind of a head count? What sort of establishment rate did you get, or plant count did you get once it was established?
Seed rate.
Yeah, and the head count you have now.
Right, you had to ask me something technical like that. I'm afraid I'm not a great counter, because you go around a field and you do count, you will get a different answer every time. Yeah, and I would say I want to be somewhere around 650, 700 ears. Now, when I walked in this field in March, didn't need to do a count. I could tell you it wasn't thick enough. If you're doing this job every day, which you maybe are, you're not necessarily needing to count them all the time, but I want 650 to 700 ears, and the options were limited. But I put early nitrogen on. I put a chlormaquat on early to just try and hold on to those tillers, get it to tiller more, and we. Possibly, yes. Yes, and this is not thick enough. No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. It's not thick enough, but there's limited to what I can do about that on the 15th of March. Say again? It got a rolling in the spring as well. Also, and I will just plug a product because and everybody laughs at me when I say I used a product called Release in the spring, and there'll be a few chuckles. I really rate the product Release, and all it does is it's an acid-based product, and there are people who are far more technical than I am to tell you what it is, but it just makes the phosphate that's there more available. We're not putting phosphate on, we're making, and this shed loads of phosphate. Oh, that was close, Tom. There's shed loads of phosphate here which isn't available. We're just making the phosphate more available. This was just done with a drag, just done with a Henry. What's it called? Just a tine drill, just a 12-meter fine tine drill. I should say it's just where it's just not taken very well. You know, there are areas where it didn't take very well. But if you had seen this when it went in, you'd be highly surprised we've got this crop now. Any more questions?
Thank you very much indeed, Michael. Well, we are going to see some robotic farming next with AgSeed and William Mumford. But I've been told, given it happens over there diagonally, but please do not go diagonally. Head back down the track that you came up and then left as you basically get to the end of that field and head up that way. And yeah, we'll kick off when there's a decent group down there as well. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to introduce you. Yeah. Is it best if we bring people up this way a bit? Yeah. Hello everybody, welcome to this robotic tractor demonstration. Perhaps the people towards the end there, perhaps you want to come up this way a bit if you want to see and hear a little bit better, yeah, join in the throng, and then we'll be able to focus the attention a little bit more. And you will be starting us off with a 3 or 4 minute discussion, is that right? And then passing on to your colleague. Thank you very much.
Right guys, we'll just let this Agbot come past us. Right, so back in 2018, 4 tall Dutchmen had a dream of bringing autonomy to agriculture globally. Just so happened back in 2018, legislation around autonomous vehicles changed to allow unsupervised autonomy to be real, legal and practical for farmers around the world. There is a big difference between supervised and unsupervised autonomy that we'll come to later. So key criteria were that autonomy should work alongside conventional tractors. So the brief was use diesel fuel while alternative fuels are coming along at great rate. Today in the corner of farmyards around the world, diesel's still the most popular option. The 3-point linkage shares its 100-year anniversary this year. And again, universally, globally, 3-point linkage is something that's unanimous with agriculture. And then finally, we needed to outperform Europe's average tractor. So back then, tractors were around 145 horsepower as an average. So this was designed to outperform, outlift, and outpull. So from there, the 4 engineers quit working at Rogator, AGCO, and set off on this path of to autonomy. They built the first machine very similar to what you see here today. It took them 15 months to build the first prototype. That was a remote control version, and 3 months later it was fully autonomous, and they were out testing around Europe to gather their thoughts on how this would integrate and challenges in bringing autonomy to farmers throughout Europe and beyond. 3 years after that, they sold the first Agbot into 2021. Machines been sold through Holland, Belgium, into Germany. First one exported to Australia, and then from there now we're up to 120 machines globally, 26 dealers selling a range of Agbots. This is the largest in the range that Will here is going to talk about in more detail. We also offer a 4-wheeler version. There are a couple of those working in Kent and throughout Europe, and then right at the small end we offer a 3-wheeler version which works in orchards and vineyards, typically spraying. Right, so we're going to bring the machine in, and Will's going to run you through the mechanics of the solution. I'm just going to talk about autonomy. Many farmers' sons, like us all, could have a go at building a robot, but the challenges of producing such a device like this are really down to the digital side, the homologation and the redundancy. These machines are built with a range of sensors that gives you the perception system so that these can legally be left running around fields around the world unsupervised. You can go to bed, leave them running. Objects, people, animals that appear in the periphery of the machine will bring it to a stop. It will notify you, the operator, and notify you and give you the options as to what you'd like to do before finishing the rest of the field. Right, Will, I'll pass it across to you. Can we just take this fence down and we'll bring the machine through?
All right, thank you, Peter. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring the machine to a stop here somewhere, drop the fence so we can have a good look round it, and I'll walk around the machine and give you roughly what the specs are. As Peter said, we've got 3 machines in the range. This is the larger. The 4-wheeler is a 75 horsepower machine. Typically we see that doing lighter operations, so weeding and planting and quite a lot of grass cutting. The 3-wheeler is specifically designed to do row crop work in terms of orchards and vineyards, specifically designed to run up and down rows. We haven't yet sold one of those in the UK, but we will do shortly. While I'm here, is there any questions? Anyone got any burning questions? Sorry? Yeah, number of units in the UK. So currently we've got 6 track machines in the UK and 3 4-wheel machines in the UK. So Peter's now taking control of the machine. If you notice, the lights on the top are now solid green. When it's in autonomy, they are rotating yellow and green, but we now know that this machine is being driven manually because it's got a fixed green light. We can do everything from the controller, so we can lift the implement up and down, lift the front linkage up and down, and drive the machine fully remotely when we need to. So we'll start with the track system. We can supply anything from 300 to 950 mil tracks. We prefer in the UK the 610s or the 750 tracks. Gives us a good balance between traction and floating across the soil. The track frame is different and the rollers are different each time we change the track size. So we don't just put a wider track on, we actually put wider rollers on. The 300 mil tracks are on a completely different track frame for row crop work. On the rear of the machine, we've got a Cat 3 3-point linkage with an 8.2 ton lift capacity at the hooks. The machine itself weighs about 7 tons, so if you want to lift an 8-ton implement, we want a fairly hefty front weight on it. As any conventional tractor, we've got 4 spool valves on the back. We've also got power beyond or load sensing, and we've got a bidirectional PTO capable of running at any speed from 0 to 1100 RPM. So if we want to put what would have been a front implement on the back, we can reverse the PTO and we can run the machine effectively backwards. On the front, we've got a Cat 2 front linkage capable of lifting 3.2 tons. In the UK, we spec the machine with a 1400 kilo front weight with a toolbox one side and a 250 litre fuel tank the other. The machine itself has 350 litres on board. If you really put it on its knees, you can consume that in about 14 hours. Gentle work, rolling, that sort of thing, typically we see upwards of 30 hours out of a tank full. So with the additional 250 litres on the front, you're pretty confident that you've got a complete 24-hour working period. The implements of today, the smart implements, this isn't a smart implement, but a lot of manufacturers are now coming up with smart implements. and we can retrofit some smarts onto implements. Typically, a smart implement would have a sensor on the roller at the back. So if the roller stops, we can command the AgBot to do something. We have point wear sensors, we have shear bolt sensors, and we have blockage sensors. And the implement has the ability to command the AgBot to do things. So i.e. if it blocks, we can lift up, drive forward a few meters and let down again. If it continues to block, we can stop and then send you a message. On the top of the machine, the little blue round thing at the top is the LiDAR. That is scanning 0 to 30 meters. So as you come into that 30-meter zone, the machine will start taking notice of you and seeing or trying to determine what you are, whether you're an animal or a human. When we get within 12 meters of the machine will start to slow down. On these particular robots, purple lights around the top indicate that it's seen you or seen something. So that's the primary safety feature. Also on the top, we've got a front and rearward facing camera, which is connected to an app or an internet portal. So while we're operating this, we can look on our phone and we can see the progress of the implement, and we can also look at the front and rear camera. Additionally, on the front, we've got a radar that scans 0 to 15 meters. We've got sonar ultrasonics, similar to your parking sensors, does 0 to 2 meters. And then the front bumper is actually a soft bumper, which is a hard stop. So if that bumper was to run into something, the machine would come to a full stop, and we would then need to return to the field to restart it. If the LiDAR sees something, it will slow down, it will eventually stop. You'll get a message on the app, and you can actually look at it and then make a decision. You can say, okay, what's that? Oh, that's my next door neighbour. Let me flatten him, carry on, go. You actually make that decision. We are able to use these, let these run fully autonomously. So putting them into a field at night, going home, going to sleep, that is a real possibility. We don't have to be with it. We don't have to attend it. Nobody has to be watching it. They are able to be used fully autonomously. Typically, we see implement sizes on the back, anything from 3 to 6.5 meters. We have got one customer pulls a 12-meter set of rolls, 6-meter Simba Colty press. We've got one customer pulls a 5-leg subsoiler quite confidently with it. So they are a very, very capable machine. Anybody got any burning questions? And Peter, have I missed anything? What sort of gearbox? Very good question. So it's actually a diesel electric transmission. So the 155 horsepower diesel engine runs a generator, and that runs 2 electric motors on the tracks. That is the most efficient way we can get that 155 horsepower onto the ground. It's the most efficient transmission we can have. Roughly how much they cost? So depending on the spec, one of these could reach 317,000. The 3-wheeler would be somewhere about the 150 mark. Used machine. This one, if you'd like to take this one away today, probably somewhere about 210,000. Yeah, we could sell it, couldn't we? We could have a quick impromptu auction.
How do you go about moving it from field to field?
Very good question. So from field to field. So currently we are a single operation. So we go into one field and we do that operation. The machine stops. We then move it to the next field. Very shortly, we are going to be able to move from field to field, provided we don't have to go on the public highway. So we can move from field to field through a safe gateway. If you have to go on the public highway, it's a low loader job. So we stick it on a low loader and move it to the next farm. So we do not see at this stage a battery being a sensible option for a draft implement. So if we were to take the biggest car battery that we could find and put on this machine, it would last somewhere between 7 and 17 minutes, depending how hard it was pulling, provided you could get the power out. So at this moment in time, battery technology isn't where we are for heavy draft work. If we had a 4 or 5 or 6 stepped change in that technology, it might be something. But at the moment, it's just not there for us. Sorry, Mr. Question here. Yeah. So bridle paths and public footpaths are okay. It depends a little bit on your insurance company. Our insurance company are insistent that if there is a public footpath or bridleway, it is marked at either end, clearly marked that there's an autonomous vehicle operational in that field, and then they are happy for that to work. So, yeah. What's holding back the higher horsepower? Well, the original dream of this was to produce a lighter implement that didn't damage the soil structure. So this was where the weight that was wanted. I mean, typically we find that this machine is doing 100 acres a day because it's running for the 24 hours. So at the moment, we're happy with this size machine, and our customers give us good feedback on the work rates that they get. But no aim to go any bigger at this stage. We might change our view, but at this stage, this is where we are. Yes, yeah, a lot. So, we can run this for 22, 24 hours a day comfortably. You'd want a much bigger machine to do the same, get the same output with an operator.
Do you see these fully replacing tractors or working quick tractors sometimes in the future?
Well, as I'm the UK seller, I would hope that they would obviously replace every tractor that's out there. You're always going to need to haul product. You're always going to need to move stuff around. You're going to need to do operations that won't be autonomous, hedge cutting, that type of thing. And it's a good question. I've got a small farm at home, and we're sort of introducing this fully into the farm. And now the next thought process is, okay, if this machine is doing all the cultivations, what do I then need? Do I need a conventional tractor, or do I need a high-speed tractor because I'm doing a lot more hauling? How does that work in terms of the business, and how does that structure into the business? But it's a good question, and it's a question we probably haven't fully got the answer to yet. You must have another burning question.
No. Come to when you're done.
Any other final questions? Go on. So we do have a retrofit smart implement controller. So we can retrofit onto any implement, various sensors across it. Some of the manufacturers are beginning to bring out smart implements. So you see that creeping into the marketplace today. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so there's every sensor you can imagine on this. We measure the oil temperature, the oil level, the water temperature, the water level. We measure everything. We even measure the hub temperatures. And if any one of those parameters goes out, is not in where it needs to be, the machine shuts down. With a hydraulic oil level, you get some early warnings. So if the oil level's dropping, you get oil level low, but eventually it will shut down. So, yeah. Very, very good question. So there is a 5 kilowatt, 700 volt socket on the back. So that's designed to take the latest or the future ISOBUS electrically powered implements. And if you think about that, if we take something like a power harrow today, we've got a PTO shaft, a gearbox, and then a bed of gears. If we had a fully electric power harrow, we just have a motor on the top of each rotor. And then start measuring the load on each of those rotors. You can then determine if there's a blockage, if there's a broken tine. You can determine very quickly from that. I mean, it's 700 volts DC, so you'd need to convert it back. So you'd want a fair size converter. Yeah. Any other final questions? Just looking round. Now back to you, Tom.
Thank you very much indeed to Will and Pete from Magseed. And do you give it a name? Do you ever name your robots, or is that just silly?
No. So every robot has a 2-word name. So we name every robot. So this is Dawn Mountain.
Well, thanks very much to Dawn Mountain as well. Okay, everybody, we're going to have, continue in the world of machinery and arguably robotics. We're going to do drones next. That does, I'm afraid, mean you've all got to move back to the other side of that fence line from where you were, and there will be a talk and a display about drones and agriculture right here. Thank you.
I'm Andrew Russell. Some of you have met me today, and some of you will have seen me putting grass seed down, which we don't talk about too much at the moment in the show field. I'm here with SS Land Services. Steve and Mark are over the other side of the field there with the trailer, and Steve is flying, excuse me, the drone today for us with the clean water spray. So this is a T50 DJI drone. Basically, it's a 100 kilogram drone, 105 kilograms max takeoff weight. What you're seeing there today is a spray tank with a 40 litre capacity. And of course, with most water, that's 40 kilograms of payload. So it's not the heaviest it can be. But to put it in perspective, that battery will last probably around about 6 minutes taken off at max weight. And the battery has got a capacity of 20 minutes if you're flying empty, but of course, rarely are you flying empty with these spray drones unless you're doing mapping of the field for the boundaries, etc. So Steve started drones 2 years ago. He had a agricultural contracting company, diggers, mowers, etc., saw the market in the drone business coming up, started with a small-scale drone, which was only a quarter of this size, shall we say. And then in the last 2 years, the T50 and the competitors, XAG, have come up with these drones, which are now 100 kilograms. And that makes it a lot more comfortable for application rates, etc. So we're picking up work at the moment, not through spraying, because the problem at the moment is we cannot spray any regulated chemicals. So by that I mean anything that has an MAPP, a ministry-approved pesticide number on it, is not approved for aerial spraying. Frustrating, because if you roll the clock back many years, there was fixed wing and helicopter crop sprayers in the country. But two things have happened. Those have gone out of favour, and equally all the chemicals that are around at the moment, when they've been assessed for suitable application, they are not being certified for aerial application, because up until this year there's been nobody with a drone to apply them. Will it come? I think so. We're in a process of trying to get approval at the moment. One thing they are keen to see is spray drift data, and I'll talk about that in a moment. We have it from the manufacturers and various sources, but they also want us to look into approving every individual pesticide that is we're likely to use. And by that I don't mean we get a blanket cover for fungicide or herbicide. They want to do it by product, which is an expensive road to go down. And if the government keep pulling products one by one, we're going to be paying for products that we may not be able to use in the future. So spraying that we can do is biological projects. I did some vineyards last week with organic spray, so that's perfectly acceptable. And on that rate, we were doing 40 litres per hectare. Steve's got that set up at a similar rate today, and it looks like he's got it on a fairly fine droplet size at the moment. We can do 5 to 500 microns, depending on what we want to cover, in both in spread of the spray width and also how we want to get the spray into the canopy. He's got a forward speed there somewhere around about 20 to 25 kilometers an hour, and we are getting a bit of drift today. The wind's coming in from left to right. We're doing this for demonstration purposes because, you know, we're flying to you as a crowd of the spectators, and what we can do when we do get approval for spraying is we, of course, do not have to follow the tram lines. So if the wind's blowing left to right in the field, we'll fly into that wind and downwind with it. There's no reason to fly along the tram lines of the field and put up with side drifts. So whilst people are a little cautious about the drift from a drone, we can mitigate some of that by flying with the wind, which of course will keep the drift on the spray route. Other applications that we are doing currently, we're getting a lot of work coming in for cover crop sowing, companion crops, grass seed into maize crops. That's all backing up at the moment. You know, there's a window to do that, both from the farmer's point of view, and the weather's not played ball lately. We've had a lot of strong winds, which interestingly, the drone can cope with the wind up to sort of 20 miles or so, 20 miles an hour or so. But, you know, you're seeing the effects of drift a little bit here today with a fairly light wind. Equally, if we're spreading something like grass seed, that's not accurately getting on target if we're spreading in sort of 10 to 20 mile an hour winds. So we're a little behind in our tasks at the moment. We've got a bunch of farmers waiting for us to get on and do a lot of this grass seed and cover crop sowing at the moment. But the applications for spreading is very much down to the product. If you're spreading fertilizer, which we did back in March, nice heavy product, not affected by the wind at all. We were doing 120 kilograms a hectare of first fertilizer in early March onto winter wheat, and that worked perfectly. The farmer didn't want to get on with the tractor, it was too wet. The conditions probably were going to stop him for at least a month. So we put 2 drones on about 100 hectares in Herefordshire and knocked that off in nearly 4 days. Through 2 drones. Here we go again. So the drone came in there. So as I said, the battery life is something in the region with a full load of 6 minutes thereabouts. And so the drone will come back both for the battery change and for a top up of the 40-litre tank. And as to where the drone goes now, that's purely down to the software in the drone. Steve's not controlling that, he's monitoring it. So the drone taking off with a full battery will start somewhere closer to the takeoff point. It's not going to go the whole length of the field to where it just finished, wasting battery carrying a heavy 40-kilogram load to resume the task. It'll pick another spot in the field and it'll spray that, and then over the course of the whole task, it will fill in the whole field. And that's difficult to explain a little bit without seeing it on the controller. But when you're talking about AB landlines on a field that you'll see on a tractor, we're following exactly the same thing, normally for spraying there, probably a 6-meter width. So when we look at the controller, there's predefined lines for the spray pattern throughout the field. but the sprayer will not, or the drone will not follow that in a regular order. It'll pick and choose every time it comes in where it's going to go each time on the next task. I think Steve had set it initially at 4 meters. I think that's a little lower than that at the moment. We're finding that with 3 meters height for both spraying and quite often for spreading, that we get the best width. The width of the spray is partially down to the height of the drone, and it's partially down to the spray rate that you're putting on, because underneath the rotors at the back and the front there, you can see the spray nozzles. That's a rotary atomizer nozzle. It's only as big as a small saucer, but that's a variable speed that will affect the size of the droplet. And of course, in that, of course, comes the width that you can spray at any one time. But as I say, most applications we can get up to sort of 6 to 7 meters width of spray. Now, clearly that doesn't compare to a 48-meter boom spray, and it's going to take an awful lot longer. But we are flying generally twice the speed of any ground sprayer. So clearly we're not quite keeping up with the large equipment that the likes of James has. But for a small farm consideration, we're efficient. We're keeping up in terms of the overall rate. We're spraying wise, something in the region of 6 hectares an hour to 9 hectares an hour. I've seen higher rates than that from the guys in America that are actually up and running and have been proving this for years now. Sadly, I don't have the luxury of standing here today and give you the figures I have for spraying, because we're not approved for the chemicals, apart from the vineyard that I did the other week, which was working out probably about 3 hectares an hour. But we'd hope to achieve somewhere in the region of 8 hectares an hour thereabouts with the drone with spraying. In terms of sowing with grass seed, cover crop, etc., gain some in the region of 6 hectares an hour for seeding. So it probably comes down to numbers. A lot of people have said to me, well, we'll operate 2 of these and we'll get the same area covered. That's fine, but sadly at the moment, until the rules change, 1 pilot per drone, plus you have to have an observer with you to keep an eye on the drone at any one time. We've flown with 2 drones before, 2 pilots, 2 observers. We can split the field so we keep out of each other's way and can actually apply within 1 field, at twice the rate if you like. I think the rules will change. They call it swarming, where 1 pilot can control more than 1 drone at a time. How soon will that happen? I don't know. We deal with the Civil Aviation Authority for this. They see that as an aircraft and have full oversight on what we can do and what we're approved for. And that is part of the setup of operating these drones. We can't just go out, buy it and operate it. We have to apply to the Civil Aviation Authority for an operational safety case, which is basically their way of saying, well, I need a manual of how you operate, where you're going to operate, what you're going to apply, how you mitigate risk, how you assess risk, etc. And so for every flight we do, we have to do this risk assessment. Sometimes it takes longer to do that than the actual job, but that is part and parcel of the control of this at the moment. In addition to that, the pilots have got to be trained and licensed for it. It's not overly complicated. I've spent 30 years as a commercial pilot, and it's a damn sight easier to get a drone pilot license than it is a jet pilot license. But as I say, the Civil Aviation Authority take this very seriously, because at 100 kilograms, if that thing's used in the wrong place at the wrong time and is out of control, it's certainly going to cause some damage. Those of you that perhaps fly the camera drones, the DJI Minis, the 3s and 4s, you all know that if that thing lands on your head, you may get a scratch, but it won't be much worse than that. A serious bit of kit at 100 kilograms if it does go out of control. So in terms of applications, we're doing, as I say, a lot of seeding at the moment. In terms of spraying, liquid seaweed has been very popular this year for pasture, liquid seaweed bio-N. We're starting to see more interest in biological products and products, beg your pardon, and we're hoping that goes further now. So it's a little bit of a slow start, I would say, for the use of the drones in the UK. We're getting there. There's an awful lot of interest this year, far more than last year. Part of that's due to the likes of social media and YouTube, etc. It's just getting exposure now with this. And I would hope come next year that we possibly see spraying in the UK by drones of regulated chemicals. But I might be a little optimistic in that. These things take time. And of course, we're all working to a seasonal window here for both spraying and spreading. But we're doing other applications. Solar cleaning, I've started looking at that and trialed on one industrial unit with solar on the roof. That's should be successful. There are now dedicated solar cleaning liquids that you dilute in water and apply to the solar panels. The manufacturers say, well, the smart way of doing it, you do it a couple of days before heavy rain, and then you've got the product flushed off after it's done its work. I don't see much rain at the moment, so I'm now looking at having to do a double application of both the solar cleaning fluid and then going over it with deionized water a few days later to flush it off, which sort of doubles up the work and the task. I've also looked at solar farms. Now we're into thousands of litres of product and water to be able to achieve 100 acres of solar cleaning. So that poses a problem for us because we're travelling with a trailer like you see here today. I've only got a 600 litre IBC in there. If I need 5,000 litres of water for solar cleaning, then I need someone on site to provide that to me. And most solar farms you go to, there's no one within a 10-mile radius. So solar cleaning may take off, we'll see. Other colleagues have been doing a lot of whitewashing of greenhouses, glass houses. Modern glass houses generally tend to have temperature control with blinds and stuff, but older glass houses, people are putting on a whitewash in the spring. Bob's going up on a ladder with a bucket and a mop, and God knows how he's not falling through the glass. We can go up with the drone now, take all the risk out of it, providing we operate in a sensible way. The drone is certainly the way to do that. And then we would go back in the autumn and put a cleaner solution on to take off the whitewash. So we're getting a little bit of work through the glasshouse industry. I've had other inquiries. I did a pond sealant in Wales earlier this year. Somebody had dug a pond, an acre or so, thought it was going to, well, a bit more than an acre, I suppose, but he thought it had a clay content that would retain the water, and it slowly seeped away. So he got someone in and put plastic lining into the lake, and that leaked. So a guy who's a pond specialist recommended an Australian product, which is a granular product which you spread onto the water, and then it swells up, looks like a semolina pudding, and then it sinks down. It's completely bio-friendly and safe for wildlife, etc., fishes, and then it sinks down into the bed of the banks of the lake and seals any cracks or holes you might have in it. And the drone was a perfect solution for it, because prior to that, people were going out in boats and what have you and hand spreading this product onto a lake or a pond. A, it's going to take forever. B, it's not particularly uniform. We did it in an hour or so with the drone and had a perfect cover of this pond sealant product onto the surface of the lake. So that was an interesting one to do. I've got a guy in Wales who's lost pasture to gorse. So the gorse has been very invasive. It's filled the hillside. He can't graze it anymore. He's managed to scrub it off and burn it off, but it's too risky to get a traditional drill onto a hillside in Wales that he describes to me. Can I come and do it with a drone with grass seed? Perfect. Again, it's down to conditions. I want to put grass seed on with a bit of moisture in the forecast, etc. But I can probably do that job in less than an hour. And he's got 10 acres of pasture back for sheep grazing that he'd lost to the gorse. When I started down this road a year or so ago with the drone, there were products that we could have legally used for drone with the drone for control of gorse and bracken. Those already have been pulled from the market, so we've lost that facility at the moment to spray for bracken and drone and gorse. So you can see the turnaround on the drone. It's fairly quick. As I say, we're always operating as a two crew, so we can actually turn around generally within a minute once we're practiced with the whole operation. And I'm not sure how much more area Steve's going to cover now. We had about 4 batteries charged, so this is probably the last rotation he's going to do on the drone today. What I would have liked, you can't control the weather, but if we'd have a bit more sunshine today, it picks up the spray pattern far better coming out of the drone, so you're probably struggling to see it a little bit now. apart from the dust, of course. So yeah, we're on the last, I think when we return from this, that'll be Steve Dunn for this demonstration. Is there any questions before we wrap up on the drone? I'm sorry, say again? You're asking about precision of the spray. Let me just start with the drone. We use RTK the same as you know, farmers are with the tractors, so we're getting that sort of 10 centimeter accuracy. We're using fixed stations off of the RTK network and various things. But in terms of the volume, because we haven't done the spray rates at the moment, we're trying to get, we believe we're going to be in much lower applications than a boom sprayer. I can only really tell you based on what I'm seeing in America, because we haven't been approved to do spraying in the UK now. I don't have the facts and figures here today, but they're working at sort of 3 US gallons an acre, which is something around sort of 11 litres per acre. So, you know, 25 or so on a hectare. So much lower rates than you'd probably be going out with a boom sprayer. And of course, as I say, we're normally doing about anything between a 6 and 8 metre width. So clearly we're taking longer to do the task. Well, a little longer, but we are flying faster. But in terms of the precision, we've done, so in spreading, we put out seed trays to collect the fertilizer in the seed to check that we've got accurate application, and that worked well. We'll be doing the same with the sprayer to make sure that we're getting, you know, put down something that we can judge the spray width on. But that's all part of the assessment at the moment. Silso College is doing trials on one of the competitors' drones to assess spray drift, because this is a big fear that there's too much spray drift out of it. Personally, I don't think it is. I think it's very accurate. Everyone that's operating around the world say it's highly accurate. But you're not going to go out in 20-mile-an-hour winds, and you go out in a boom sprayer in 20-mile-an-hour winds. So it's kind of, you know, you should be comparing apples and apples and not apples and oranges, really. So I think we're going to prove that it is very effective. Sure. Another question? Yeah, a good question. Yeah, so there's lots of rules about what we can and can't do. The CA, Civil Aviation Authority, they class people in different categories. Uninvolved people you can't fly closer than 50 meters to them. Anybody involved, you can fly within 10 meters of them. If it's a crowd, like a festival or something like that, or a major city, no closer than 150 meters. So we have all these rules and what have you. But what we do every time we fly the drone is we map it, and if it's close to a road, we can lower the speed, because basically they're looking at energy of the drone. If it fails, where's it going to land? Most of the time you're next to a road, you're paralleling the road, so you've taken that risk away a little bit. If you're flying across the field towards that road and then turning to go back up the next land work, then sure, you're charging to that road at 25 kilometers an hour, whatever. You would push back the boundary so that land work doesn't have the drone charging towards the road or building, etc. And then falling of spraying or spreading around that field, we can double up the boundary and make the boundary wider and do 2 widths around the boundary, so that we're following parallel to the road and we're taking some of that risk away. Yeah, we can mitigate against it on various things. Quite often, because we're only flying at sort of 2 to 3 meters, you know, you've got to look sensibly. If there's a tree line, high hedge, etc., there's something to stop that drone before it's ever going to get to a road. We can't control the road, so we've got to be, you know, very careful about this and how we do it. So it is you're right. There is a slight problem in where we can't spray. You're going to have fields that are close to roads. It might be close to houses, etc. We can talk to those houses and say, look, this is what we're doing. We've now made those people involved because we've explained the risks to them, etc. But we can't ever fly over people with this drone. There's no chance ever at the moment of ever overflying anybody at any time. Be them in a car, be them in a house, on a boat. You know, that's one thing we have to abide by, is not to overfly people. We can get relatively close to them. But yeah, I think that life will move on, and the reliability of these drones will be proven. That some of that risk will probably get come down in mitigation because of the reliability of them. Thank you. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you much indeed to Andrew Russell. Pilots over there and the spotters, thank you very much, gentlemen. You kept us all safe and you sprayed a lot of water around. We are headed down just around the corner here for a talk from Anglia Farmers, and it's about the opportunities from renewables. So if you follow the van down there, as you can see, there are plenty of renewables being capitalised on this little bit of field with the solar panels there and the tracking ones. Some of them don't seem to be tracking in the right direction, but there we go. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes, just a moment or two for people to come up the hill and for the cameras to get happy. You happy with that, folks? Yeah? So over to John Wodeson from Anglia Farmers, who is going to tell us all about the opportunities for farmers and solar. John.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As I've been introduced, I'm from the AF Group, formerly called Anglia Farmers. I'm here with a team of other AF specialists and experts that are looking to introduce new members and new farmers to what we can offer at Anglia Farmers. The predominant reason I'm here is that I'm the renewable project specialist for AF, and I've been involved in a number of projects for James and PX Farms. So the solar panels that you can see over in the field to my right are the latest ground array that's been installed. The original ground array is behind us, and James's original foray into solar PV was the tracking systems that are behind the Cheffins van. Now, solar PV has become very, very popular within farming over the last 10 to 15 years, and AF has been involved in many hundreds of projects for its members. Now, AF predominantly works in procurement of farming resources and farming inputs. So solar PV has become something that that we've used as an add-on to that. Now, the solar PV at PX Farms, the array that you can see behind, the tracking array, is approximately 50 kilowatts, about 10 kilowatts per column. Now, that was installed about 12 years ago, something like that. The array behind me was installed about 10 years ago. That was all within the FIT era, so those were paid for by government subsidies. More recently, the government has been reluctant to pay for subsidies, but the modern solar PV systems do actually pay for themselves. So most installations now, if you have a decent sized array for a decent sized power supply, you can get them to pay back relatively quickly. The projections for the array in the field over here, the latest array, is about a 4-year payback. So one of the things that that James specified at the start of the project was that he wanted the whole project to be as cash neutral as possible. So we worked with him very diligently in a number of financing suppliers to try and get him a financing package that actually made it cash positive from day one. And we managed to do that. So whilst in its own right it will pay back in 4 years, James has financed it over a slightly longer period, meaning that he's never out of pocket on that particular array. Now, if you look over the top of the trees at the end of the path, you will see the top of a building between the trees. Now, that building has a roof array which was installed over the last few weeks. That roof array is also augmented by a number of battery systems, and those panels are actually powering all of the office and machinery workshop and some of the grain stores down that end of the facility. Now, again, we were looking at the figures for that earlier today, and it seems to be generating enough power to power the whole site down there around the clock at the moment. Now, in the winter time, there will be some import from the grid, but during the summer, spring and autumn, it should be pretty self-sufficient. The arrays that you can see around me total about 350 kilowatts. Now, that's a bit of a drop in the ocean with regard to the amount of power that the grain stores that over behind you are using, but the arrays have contributed about £40,000 in the last 12 months. So from that perspective, it's actually quite a reasonable earner as an auxiliary for a farming business. Now, I'm just going to do a couple more things about AF. For those of you that don't know, AF is the largest farming procurement organisation within the UK. We are a cooperative, so we are owned by our farming members. We are specifically orientated towards producing value for farming inputs, and we have specialists within fuel, energy, fertilizer, crops. And I would, if you're not an AF member at the moment, I would advise you to pop down to the tent at the bottom of the track there and have a chat with the team. My colleague Paul in the middle here is our man who deals with new members. So certainly have a chat with him if you're interested in looking at any of the farming procurement options. Can I have a show of hands of anyone that's got solar PV installed at the moment? I've got a reluctant show of hands, but that's quite a blank sheet, to be fair. So I'm guessing all of you guys are here at the moment because you're interested in solar. Well, I'd add to what my friends at Cheffins said at the start, and that's that solar PV has never been cheaper. It's probably the best solution for reducing your energy bills on farm. It doesn't produce around-the-clock power like a wind turbine, but neither does it have all of the costs associated with the preventative maintenance and upkeep. So it's the most fit and forget renewable energy solution that you can buy currently. Now, solar panels have never been as cheap as they currently are, and battery systems have never been as cheap as they currently are either. So it's worth looking at now. And again, if you want to speak to Paul, he will be able to introduce you to the ways in which we can help you to correctly size and finance a solar PV system to suit your farming needs. So I'm going to open up the floor now to a few questions. Any questions from anyone regarding new arrays? Any questions from anyone that would like to install something? Sir. Tracking arrays are phenomenally good. The primary issue with tracking arrays is they have a number of moving parts. Now, those moving parts, as you can see, sometimes get a bit confused. You can see the arrays that we've got here. They are looking in different directions, so they are generating different quantities of power. Typically, a tracking array should be 20 to 25% more efficient than a ground array or a reef array. However, they need to be working and looking in the right direction. So it's the same with with wind turbines. It's that preventative maintenance and that upkeep that causes a tracker to be slightly less of a beneficial resource than you would get with a more traditional array. So they do cost quite a lot more as well. So cost is often prohibitive when it comes to trackers. Whilst they only produce about 20–25% more energy, they probably cost 3 times what you would pay for a traditional ground array. So.
As you'll be aware, there's a lot of people worried about food versus energy when it comes to solar panels. I've seen that some panels, well, panels are now so cheap that you can think of putting them vertically like a fence and have the sun go either side, and that way you don't use land in the same way, and so you can, you can arable farm between them. What do you think?
No, I've seen that. That's a solution that's actually been around for many years in terms of utilising solar PV as fencing panels. Not particularly in this country, has never been popular here.
My point is as solar becomes cheaper, you don't have to get maximum yield out of it all the time, so it may become more viable as an idea.
It's certainly something that is becoming more viable. Solar panels are cheaper than fence panels at the moment, so why would you not? You know, it's a very good solution. I think the way in which it needs to be installed needs to be in line with the current legislation and the requirements of the solar PV regulations. So I don't know of anybody in the UK doing it currently, but there are lots and lots of organisations in Europe that are using solar PV as fencing panels. You do get an efficiency derate by having the panels vertically. The ideal angle for a panel in the UK is about 35 degrees. That will generate you the maximum for every square meter of panel that you're using. Now, if you're mounting them either horizontally or vertically, that will derate to about 80%. So you will lose 20% of the efficiency of the panel by doing that. But it's still great. When the panels are that cheap, why not? Any more questions? So does anybody in the audience use any other kind of renewable technology? What about wind turbines? Anyone got wind turbines? AD plant? Oh, we're drawing a bit of a blank here. What I'm seeing here is that we've got a lot of customers potentially for renewable energy that are looking very, very good for becoming new members of AF. More than happy to discuss that with you. As I say, speak to Paul or come see me afterwards. Anything else anyone would like to add? Madam. The panels that you've got here, these are about 250 watts. Now that's what you would have installed about 10 years ago. When you were buying those panels 10 years ago, they would have been about probably 250 to 300 pounds each. Now the panels that are in the field across here, instead of 250 watts, the modern panels are between 400 and 450 watts. They are slightly bigger, but those panels tend to be about 50 pounds each. So you can see you've almost doubled the power rating of the panel, and you've reduced its price by about 4 or 5 times. So they are as cheap as they've ever been. Now, there is a reason for that. The manufacturers they tend to predominantly be in China, and the panel markets have been up and down throughout the world over the last few years. And yeah, at the moment, solar PV panel market has geared up for an enormous amount of manufacture. And that manufacture means that because it's a supply and demand market, the areas that are demanding it are demanding cheaper panels, and the technology is developing to achieve that. So whilst I can't see the panels coming down dramatically from where they are now, and I really can't see how they can make them any cheaper, but yeah, the guys in China are very, very good at they are, yes. The panels that you put in a field are exactly the same as the ones that you would put on a roof. It's just the mounting system that changes. So. Sorry, sir? Battery efficiency is very good. Battery cost has come down dramatically. With batteries, it's very, very important, like with solar, to design your system to suit your needs. Now, we've looked at this system for James, and we've looked at how much benefit he would see from installing a large battery array on this site here, which is predominantly powering the grain stores. Now, the actual way in which the batteries work and the way in which he uses his power, it's actually not that efficient to do it that way. However, if you look at domestic applications, or if you have an office, or if you have an organization that that tends to run more business hours, or a home, then batteries are very, very efficient, and they can be used to maximize the benefit from an array. Now, the difficulty with a battery is that when you're selling your power back to the grid, you'll be paying about 22 pence, 25 pence a unit to buy your power from the grid. When you sell your power back to the grid, you might be selling it back at 10 or 12 pence. Now, that 10 pence is what you're targeting with a battery, and you need to be able to store it and then reutilize that at a different time and make that pay off. Batteries are still quite expensive. Whilst they are cheaper than they've ever been, you have to make sure you can maximize that overlap. And that's something that we spend a lot of time doing with our members at AF, making sure that when they're talking to suppliers about battery and solar systems, they're actually getting a verified performance before they put their money up. So.
Okay. Well, hang on, there's one more over there. I was going to end with the fly past, but I think there's one more over here.
Sorry, sir? That's actually a really good question. The panels are as cheap as they've ever been at the moment, but the gentleman has identified that there's a lot more than just panels within a solar array. You've got to look at the mounting packages, you've got to look at the installation, you've got to look at the electrical infrastructure, maybe connecting to the grid. All of that comes with a cost. Now, those costs haven't reduced as much as the panel price has. So the panel price is the driving factor in terms of getting the cost of the solar arrays down. However, solar arrays as total have probably reduced by about 60% in the last 5 years in terms of their actual total cost. You still have costs of scaffolding, you still have costs of netting on a building like this if you have a cement fibre roof, you have costs of electrical installation. So those things have not reduced at the same level as the panels. And again, that's one of the reasons why AF spends a lot of its time advising its members about what they should expect to be paying for the solar PV that they're installing. Does that answer your question, sir? Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you very much indeed, John, for that. Right, our next talk is down back in the yard, so back towards home and drinks and cars and things like that. And we'll be hearing about agricultural training with Andrew Palmer from Lantra, health and safety statistics with David Exwood, and maintenance and ag MOTs with Jane Gurney. And that's due to start at 5 o'clock or so. Might shift by 5 minutes, I'm guessing. Thank you.
really interested in hearing from you guys and girls, should I say. You know, come to us, and if there's something that is missing that you think we should be doing, please do come along and have a chat with us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Stuart Head, the Farm Safety and Transport Advisor. Oh, hello. It was supposed to be David here doing this instead of me, but I think you'll all be glad it's me instead. Don't tell him I said that, otherwise a few strong words may be coming my way. I do hope to, do hate putting a dampener on, I guess, what's been such a lovely day, but, you know, I've been asked to present and speak on statistics, you know, health and safety statistics in agriculture, and, you know, it doesn't take a genius to recognize that we're not necessarily the best when it comes to health and safety. So one thing I wanted to get across sort of from the very start is that I think it can be very easy to become so familiar with, you know, numbers and statistics and the word fatality. But I guess it's very important to remember that, you know, there's a face behind that number. There's a family behind that statistic. You know, it's not just a number and statistic. You know, there's a whole friendship group. There's a colleague that has unfortunately been lost. So within agriculture, forestry and fishing, that's just the way that HSE sort of organise their stats. Between the three of them, they make up 1% of the UK's workforce, however, contribute to 20% of all workplace fatalities. That's quite a shocking statistic when you think of it. 1% of the workforce, but 20% of all fatalities. Now, specifically within agriculture, between the recording year 2023 and 2024, unfortunately, 23 people lost their lives whilst in agriculture. Oh, hello. So that unfortunately means 23 people left in the morning and didn't come back in the evening, unfortunately. I'm being told to shift sideways. And so, where have I gone with this? And so, you may be wondering what are the highest causes of fatalities in agriculture. So, top three being struck by moving vehicle. So that contributes to 25% of fatalities in the industry. Secondly is contact with moving vehicle. So that's, you know, there's an issue with your implement on the machine, jumping off the tractor, going around to check it, and then unfortunately getting caught. And then third and finally is struck by a falling object. So whether that be the bucket's fallen off the loader, and, you know, I don't need to explain what happens next. So an important statistic that will hopefully lead on to what Jane is going to discuss around trailers. So between 2018 and 2023, unfortunately, braking played a significant part in 60% of fatalities in the industry. So 60% of all fatalities were related to, you know, poor braking or no braking at all. Now, in terms of non-fatalities, thought I'd just touch upon this. Between 2019 and 2024, the HSE estimate that around 6,000 people who work in agriculture suffer from musculoskeletal disorders. So that's essentially your back is gone, your knees have gone, typically due to poor manual handling practices and, you know, lifting weights that are a bit beyond our capabilities. And I'll hold my hands up and say I'm guilty to that as well. I'm not here to cane anyone. You know, it's an easy thing to do. But one thing, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's many lights shining in the industry to try and raise awareness of and sort of promote safe practice. So I wouldn't be representing the NFU without giving a shout out to one of its initiatives. That was actually kicked off this week at NFU Council. So each council member was asked to make a pledge, a safety pledge, which they would take back and basically implement one thing that would improve safety on their farm. Now, David Exwood, who's obviously isn't here today, he kicked off the initiative by stating that he would commit to testing his tractor and trailer brakes, as well as maintaining frequent checks of the machinery. So I would point everyone towards the NFU website and give that a check. I recognize that not everyone will want to do their own pledge by sort of filming a video and making it public, and that's perfectly acceptable. But what I would encourage everyone to do is to write that pledge down on whether it be a sticky note or just a piece of paper and put it on the fridge, put it in the farm office, whatever it may be, just so that you can hold yourself accountable, your friends can hold you accountable, your colleagues, whatever it may be, in the hope that you can make your farm a safer working environment and, you know, reduce the horrific statistics which I have just highlighted. That's all from me, very broad and very brief, but thank you for listening, and I will hand over to Jill. Jane.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Jane Gurney, and I live about 15 minutes away from here, and we farm on the Bedfordshire-Cambridgeshire borders. In 2014, my son Harry, who was 19, was killed in a tractor and trailer incident. But what's really disheartening today is that we've got loads of people who are just not listening to the safety message. So if you could just take a few moments and just to engage with it, it'd be really helpful. We set up a scheme in 2016 to help people understand how important trailer braking systems are. And we set up the Till Your Trailer, and the idea is that the dealerships and other people that are participating in this are able to support the farmer by giving them good advice. So we're looking at inspection, maintenance and certification. The Till Your Trailer's gained a lot of momentum, and it's really well recognised. We are recommended by the NFU Mutual along with lots of other people as stakeholders with the HSE and so forth. But the real message is making sure that you have got a well-maintained trailer and not expecting anyone to tow the trailer that hasn't had that right care. So I asked the farmers here today, how do you value one life over the other? You absolutely can't. So make sure your harvest staff have got a properly maintained machinery to work on, and that we're really helping to look forward and engage with daily checks. It is a legal requirement to do daily checks and to record it. So it's a really important part of it. And we are tillypass.co.uk. You can ask us any question you like. You can download the daily checks. If you're towing a Richard Weston or a Bailey or a Stewart, you can gain all that information on there. And I would ask you to engage with it, because we have killed 6 people in this industry in the last 8 weeks. And we're going to have a horrendous summer if we carry on like that. So if you could, that would be really fantastic. I'm going to hand you back to our head narrator, and he can take over.
Head narrator, I like that. I haven't heard that one so far. Well, thank you very much indeed for all the really, really important words. I can't tell you the number of stories I've done for Countryfile about farm safety, frequently featuring some particularly poignant stories like your own, and I'm very sorry to hear about what happened. And thank you very much to Andrew as well. So now we have our final talk, or perhaps event today, is titled, and this is, you can tell this is a title that came from James. It's called Taking Down the Bad Guys, and so he's given it a bit of roar. And I think this is going to be helped by the dog section here, who are going to talk to us about keeping security and safety on your farm. And that will happen at 5:20. Thank you very much indeed. have a demonstration of farm security. In this case, it's police dogs taking down some bad guys and keeping your property potentially safe from intruders. I really would appreciate it if you could come round over this way, because the demonstration is going to happen behind this fence, behind the police cars here, behind the van. Do come over. These guys have been here all day for this demonstration. I know some of you have been talking to them at the time, but it'd be really nice to actually see what's going on. And I'm told you might see a man getting bitten in the arse. If that's your kind of thing, then that's even more reason to come closer. There's also a man with a big fake arm. I think I know what's going to happen there. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes to gather. Come on, you can bring your beers over. Don't be shy. And we'll have the demonstration in a couple of moments. Thank you very much. There's plenty of room further down the fence if you want to move that way, and please snuggle up, make room for your friends. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you any second. Yep. Okay, and I need to pass you this mic. No, honestly, you'll need it, I promise. Please, because it goes through there. Can you have a hand, spare hand? Okay, the dog is out of the car, and very shortly I'm going to pass the mic over to the dog handler, Rob, who will presumably talk you through what is going on. If I can keep getting there. Rob, can I safely pass you this?
Probably. Keep your fingers inside. Right, just like roller coasters, keep your hands and legs inside the fence line, please, or outside the fence line, as it were. This is a Belgian Malinois. Her name's Bella. She's going to be 7 next month, and she's a out-of-service police dog because she's out of injury, so she came to work for us. All our dogs are kept at home, so they're as much as part of the family as the rest of the crew. We'll do a couple bites. We were going to use a big trainer up there, but unfortunately it's become unavailable. So I need a volunteer. Anyone to wear a sleeve? I've got a bet on if she's not. Good looking man in the back. Oh, he's come prepared. We'll do a confrontational bite and we'll do a send. Just wait fire, mate. Someone take this. Put your good arm up when you're ready. Hand up, dog, stay still! Stay still, gonna send this dog! Stop it now!
You've got to love a dog attack, isn't it? There's plenty of farm collies who do more than that, I think.
That's why you haven't got a blip.
It's what?
That's why you haven't got a blip.
I know. That dog should have been at mine if he caught the blimp as he took off.
I don't know if it counts as me getting a fiver.
Oh, really?
Guys, she's safe now.
sunglasses. We can't go back yet, mate. He gave it to you.
Yeah. Hello. There was no commentary going on.
Hiya. Sorry.